words of Eli Wiesel, when you listen to a witness, you become a witness. And all of us in this room are going to be a witness. Especially those, I see so many young faces in this crowd, and you, each and every one of you, are the most important people here. You are the witnesses for the next generation. And you are going to hear the story today, and you are going to tell that story over to the next generation. Tonight, we are honored and blessed and lucky to have Tova Friedman here with us. We thank Tova so much for sharing her story with the world, her very important story, which is not easy to share, through her book, through her interviews, through her videos, and most of all, for being here in person. We must never forget her story, which is our story. It is our past, and it is also our present. And we have to ensure that it will never be our future. With the rise of anti-Semitism today, it is so important to hear her story, and it's so important to make sure this never, ever happens again. I've been honored to meet many survivors in person and to bring them here to our community, whether in person or on Zoom, to share their stories. After reading their books and the stories that they share, I've been able to find them, search for them, find them, and have been honored to have them share their stories with us. 2 years ago, I read a book called Survivor's Club. It was written by survivor Michael Bornstein and his daughter Debbie Hallenstadt. Michael never shared his story all the years until he was a 5-year-old survivor, a little boy who learned how to hide in Auschwitz in his grandmother's bed and knew how to hide and get caught until the very end where he was lucky to survive. And he did not share his story until years later, when the internet was actually already up and running, 50 years later or more. He went to a documentary, and there he saw a video. That's actually him, right there in the picture, that little boy. With, you'll see, Sarah and Tova were going to be hearing about that. He was watching the documentary and he sees these little children coming on Auschwitz, and he can't believe there's him. He remembers himself holding up his hand, his sleeve of his hand, and seeing the numbers on his sleeve. He hadn't told his story, he had not shared his story, and he ran home and went on the computer and opened up the computer and to look for the video. And sure enough, he found it, and he opened up the website. And what did the website say? It's all lies. Look at these children. Look at their faces. Do they look starving to you? This is not true. This never happened. And that was when he realized, I need to tell my story. I need to tell the truth. The world needs to hear the truth. And he told that to his daughter, and him and his daughter wrote Survivor's Club. I was honored to interview Michael. And when I did, I discovered from actually somebody in this room, Jillian Bornstein, where Jillian and her son, Scott, is over here. Jillian came over and told me that her great aunt is in that famous picture and video of the little children coming out. And there is a reunion. So I went and I searched and I found the reunion. And the reunion was of 3 survivors who are all in that picture and video, and they happen to be living in such close proximity to each other, all in this area in New Jersey. And they were brought together for a beautiful reunion, which we're about to watch.
It's one of the haunting images of the Holocaust, children freed from Auschwitz.
We are the witnesses.
This little girl, Tova Friedman was just 6 when her mother did the unthinkable.
She hit me with a dead body, and she told me not to move.
Sarah Ludwig, just 4 in this video.
I was a very gutsy kid. I was able to survive. Don't ask me how.
This is Michael Bornstein and his grandmother.
My grandmother hid me in an quote-unquote infirmary.
He finally told his story in a book, never knowing the 2 girls at his side then lived just a few miles away today.
So the moment I saw the book, I said, oh, there was somebody from that picture alive.
Hi, how are
This
you?
week they reunited.
Look, I've had this picture for years, and I always wondered, where are the other people?
Oh my goodness, that's me.
Yeah, that's you.
And that's me.
72 years after they were last together.
I just
No,
want to
no.
hug you guys. Can we hug?
Oh.
It's such a long time.
In 1945, we were there.
Just like this.
Just like that. We were standing next to each other, and we made it.
I'll show you my tattoo. We would
It's
probably
a delve in our memories forever.
Now they're sharing happier times, children and grandchildren, which leads to one more connection.
She was the first grade teacher of my grandchildren.
Brought together by a book, forever bound by history. Finally, getting their chance to celebrate survival.
Nice.
Kristen Dahlgren, NBC News, North Caldwell, New Jersey.
This is going to be a talk about miracles. I don't need to talk about miracles to non-Jews, because they think of miracles differently than we do. Jews have a certain attitude toward miracles, which isn't too focus, and the things that are not like inhuman and it's up in, up with the angels. We have down to earth miracles. We have things that happen to us that we wonder, well, how did that happen? This is just a miracle. And that's why I can talk about it here to you. To stand, this was January 27, 1945. That was the day when the Russians came to Auschwitz. And when they came in, by the way, this picture was taken later. When they came in, they were shocked. We were all shocked. We certainly weren't ready for pictures. What we were ready is for food. I'll tell you more about it. About, let's say, 2 or 3 days later, or maybe even a week later, when we were sort of realized that there's no Germans around, that we're free, that we got food, that's when they said to us, we would like to take a picture. And they did. So these pictures were staged. Why was it staged? It wasn't staged. It was that they gathered us from all the kids from all over. And they said, now show us your number. They saw the number ahead of time when they first arrived. But these sort of pictures, when you come in and you have dead everywhere and people are starving and people are walking without their clothes because they were naked. So I just want you to know about this picture. And then what was interesting, how did I find out about this? And how did I meet Sarah? I am at a fundraiser where my kids go to school. When my kids are grown, my grandkids, they're almost grown up, my grandkids. So they go to this school, and this picture is on the wall, and I say, why do they have my picture? I mean, this is not a Holocaust program. And I just say to the person next to me, why do they have this picture? He says, it's a picture of me. He says, picture of you? No, this is a picture of our teacher, Sarah. It's like, I said, which one? This one. I said, but I know her. She was sitting at another table. I said, she's the teacher of my children, my grandchildren, first grade. And I used to go there all the time because I'm one of these nosy grandparents who come to visit the grandkids' classes. I go to class, I check, you know, and she was lovely. She had no accent because she came to this country when she was about 4 or 5, you know, she was older. So that it's just, it was mind-boggling. And then when I went, I saw the book, the Auschwitz Club, I said, I get a picture here of all these people. I have all the pictures, by the way. The picture was given to me by Yad Vashem many, many years ago. So, okay. And that's how we got together. I was still, well, of course, Sarah died, and I'm really sorry, but it was an utter miracle, like you said, and our children, and we really celebrated. So let me tell you the story of the children in Auschwitz and before Auschwitz, because that's what I read today. If my story would be just mine, it wouldn't be that. It will be interesting. Okay, but that's not the point. The point is that I want us to remember the children that aren't here. That is the point. I want to remember the children. Because, you know, when you all go to cemeteries, we put a little pedal on the monument or something to show that somebody cares, somebody was there. You can't do it. These people are ashes. They were ashes. We did find a lot of pictures, by the way. Yad Vashem in Israel has thousands of pictures, some from Europe. I mean, and then they have other information, people who were murdered, but they can't put it together. The pictures and the person who's, they don't know when those people died. So in a sense, that my talking as a child who was there is I am talking about them. Because as you will see, my survival was a lot of luck. My parents' ingenuity, but a lot of luck. And let me start from the very beginning. My memory, now I'm going to ask what my memories are so good. You see, Michael spent a long time with him. I just saw him last week. We like each other, you know, we feel like almost like family, and she's got a wonderful daughter. So Michael doesn't remember much. He was 4. Now between 4 and 6.5, there is a growth that's very significant. And Sarah was 4 also. She was very little. She didn't remember much, but she told these little things. I can probably know. There'll be something. And she told something about her father, her father found her in Auschwitz. Is that correct? I mean, I think who's the person who, here you're sitting down here, I didn't see you. And her father found her. But she also didn't know. Well, I was blessed with a parent who talked to me all the time. She talked to me from the very beginning that I could understand speech. And she verified that what I saw was correct. You know, there's different style of parenting. I have 4 kids, 8 grandchildren. They're all seeing, every of them is so parents somehow differently. But my mother believed that in order for me to survive in this terrible world, I have to know the truth. Because if I know the truth, I'll be able to know what to hide. I would understand a gun, I would understand shooting, I would hear and understand things. She would tell me, yeah, this is what's going on. So in the very beginning, I was born 1 year before the war. So I had no knowledge of life before the war, except what my mother told me. Belonged to a Hasidic family, Videra Hasidim. I looked them up a little bit, I don't know much about them, but she lost 150 people. So she had 9 brothers and sisters. At the end of the war, she was the only one left, the only one. And she really, it sort of lost her interest in life after she saved me and brought me to America. And she died at the age of 45. She didn't want to deal with the memories. In my town, it's a town called Tomasz-Mazowiecki. It's about an hour, 45 minutes from Lodz. I don't know if you ever been to Lodz. Most people go to Poland, go to Lodz, it's the biggest city. It's 2 hours from Warsaw. And There were 15,000 Jews in the beginning of the war. At the end of the war, there were 200 Jews out of 15,000. It was not, there were so many children. Families had 15 children. It was not unusual. 14 children, 12 children. So there were a lot of children. And at the end of the war, there was 5 children survived out of hundreds and hundreds. Or I'm the youngest. One never came back to Poland, still lives in Germany for some reason. I'm in touch with her. And there was one more left in America. She's 5 years older than I am. She stopped speaking. So in a sense, I, who am 84, is the only representative, the original representative of all power. Everybody is gone. Some of them died naturally after the war, but everybody else was murdered. So I feel like I have to talk about it because every time I talk, as if I could put a pedal, you know, on their grave, saying, I remember you, I remember you. So my first memories are from the ghetto. Now, what I'm going to tell you, and probably most of you know because, you know, you go to school and you hear this, is that the ghettos had a certain structure. And this structure was repeated every place, absolutely every place. They had a plan. You know, I have to give them credit. Hitler would not have done it without the best minds. He used the best minds. He was professors, philosophers, musicians, nutritionists to organize this killing machine. So the first thing they did when they came to our town and to every ghetto across Europe, they killed the elderly. The elderly. Who was the elderly? 50 and over. Why? They couldn't work. They're useless. We needed workers. And what is the elderly? They get sick. Who needs elderly? They were the first. So my father's parents were killed. I don't know the dates. My mother came in and told my mother in Yiddish. I know I must have been 4.5 because I was standing by the table and the table was up here. I'm trying to figure out, you know, the thing. And he said to her in Yiddish, I just put them on a truck. That meant that he put them on a truck together with other, and he was crying. He wasn't crying that well. He was like, you know, he was coming down. And they had all the other people, sorry, now, right? Put all the elderly people on the truck, and the day before, the able-bodied people, where meant people like my father, he was, you know, like late 20s. I don't know, I could look it up exactly, but it is late 20s or early 30s. He got the brain. And so he knew, and I knew. I was listening, and my mother didn't say, don't say, you have to stand. And I listened. And they took them, and the story is they took all the elderly people. You probably read it, you know it. It happened. They shot them, and they fell into the graves. They didn't even have to touch them. Most of them were undressed. They shot them in the back. And that's it. They did the same thing with children. Children. So, and my mother's mother, who was ultra Orthodox. I mean, they were shapeless and they were really fascinating. She lived with us for a very short time because she prefers living with the more Orthodox children. My mother wasn't so Orthodox, nor my father. There was Zionists, different type of people. So she was with us for a little bit, and they came and they died, and they shot her. So my grandparents were gone almost immediately. And then I had an uncle, which is interesting. His name was James. I'm mentioning these names because I don't have graves and I had nothing. So I'm trying to remember it. He came from Germany, a German Jew, married my aunt. My aunt was only 17, but people married very young. He was about 42, 23, and he was an intellectual. So he spoke German, born in Germany. And that's the time when Germany had still allowed people to leave the country. There was a period that they said, war period. We started killing them later on, but first we got rid of them. He goes to one of the SS and he says, I'm going to be your interpreter. I'm German, Polish, they shot him on the spot. So I remember the intellectuals were all shot, the rabbis were shot, the doctors, the intelligentsia. It was a purge of the intelligentsia. It is anybody who had more than high school education or was known in the community as being a leader. You see, the way, how do you kill people? How do you kill people? It's not easy, by the way. You can't take millions of people and shoot them within a certain time frame. How do you do that? You break up your families. You took away, what did you do? You took away the grandparents. Look, I have 8 grandchildren. I know, and people who are grandparents here know that we are really a very important part of the family, if they let us. You know, a very important part of the family. With the storytellers, with the cook, with the babysitters. We do all that stuff that our children can't manage. So here it is. The grandparents are gone, right? And the children. Are you okay? Can you listen? Okay. And the kids. And now why the kids? I am thinking it's great German army. Kids are just as bad as the elderly. They get sick, they need to eat, they cry, and worst of all, they will remember. These are witnesses. That's why I'm a witness because I was a child, and I've got in enough years so I can talk about it. We need no witnesses. That was the motto, all that from Berlin. Shooting. If in doubt, shoot. If you're not sure, shoot. Get rid of them. Kill them. Leave no witnesses. That's why, by the way, every single town was like sealed. My mother, I remember to say, my sisters and brothers, and she then been killed yet. It was the beginning of the war. And she said, where are they? There's nowhere to go. You don't know how to go from one town to the other. No radio, no newspaper, no telephone, nothing. If you were caught with communication, you shut all this up. No questions asked. Because the whole point was to destroy the people silently, that nobody would know or blame. They were always afraid of being blamed and never their heads. Okay, so the children are gone. I am living with my parents in the ghetto under the table. This all I remember is the under the table for many reasons. There was no space. There were a lot of people there, and it was safe. And it was nice and comfortable. I remember blankets, maybe some toys, I don't know what I had, food. And so this was my thing. Slowly, this lectures. Now here, my mother, I heard words all the time. I don't know Polish anymore, although I spoke until I was 10. I don't know a word, and I lived in Germany for many years. I don't know German. I know certain words that remind me. One of them is a selection. They started selecting people until there were less and less people in our time. Just less. Where were they all going? They were going to Treblinka. You see, another thing they were more. Each town had a destination. They did not send from Tomasz Mazowiecki, my town, to Auschwitz. Different towns went to Auschwitz because they had to deal with all the population. So logistics, if you read about it, it's amazing this is what they could do. And the population, Poles, now you're not allowed to say anything about Poland. You go to jail. Do you know, I spoke somewhere and I said, I was in Auschwitz, Poland. Do you know that there are 2 or 3 important people who heard me send letters to the organizers that I cannot put Poland and Auschwitz in the same sentence. You go to, if I were in Poland, I'm not a citizen, well, I am a citizen, but I'm not counted. In a sense, if a Polish person would say that, they would be that it's fine to go to jail. They're not in Poland. They're like, they are trying to deny. Nothing would have happened without a Polish help. There were anti-Semites, and there are anti-Semites now. Everybody see it on television. No, seriously. So they help. So here is how we help. No elderly, no doctor. There was a doctor that would come a Jewish doctor, and he took care of all the typhus. People were dying from starvation and typhus. Now let me tell you something else, which I find fascinating. Because I still can get it in my mind that let it happen. They decided, figured out how long it takes to die. Why? So they would save a bullet. So they had to use different methods. That's before the gassing. That's before starvation. Then you figured out, and the best nutritionists, there were scientists. These were scientists. This is what people think education is so great. I don't think. I think education is only wonderful if it's all positive. Education is nothing. Absolutely nothing. If it is, by the way, right now, in different parts of Europe with the anti-Semitism, they are teaching kids in an anti-Semitic way. Now, I heard about it in some city in America. They were teaching if you have a room, so much gas, and how long does it take to gas a person if there are 500 people in the room, if it's over 300 people in the room? Now, so that's the kind of, this is the kind of education the Germans got for children. So what I'm saying to you is they decided that if the town had 5,000 people, there was a train coming in a month. They had a system to take them to Treblinka or whatever. But what are you going to do with the rest? Starve. So the starvation started. I remember starvation, the kind of people ask me, tell me I can't. There's no way. The kind of starvation that we went through. So the ghetto started starvation, people were dying of starvation and of dysentery and typhus. No doctors. There were less and less people at Tomasz, and they decided to close it up. But before they closed it, they had a cleanup force. That's another thing. Do you know in the Nuremberg trials, some of the questions were something like, how many, you're responsible for the death of 500 people, whatever. And the SS standing there said, no, I didn't shoot a single person. I didn't do. Why? Because he must have been in the plan to stop. And to use the people to shoot. He himself had communities. So they had these plans. Well, they took 36 people. That's a weird number. My father said 36. I heard it this morning. It was a lucky number for us, 36. Twice high. We don't know the number. So and we were the cleanup squad. So I and my mom, my dad, and other people, maybe 40, 50 more, we get to clean up. Because if you leave a place, it has to be spotless. You know why? Because if the Red Cross were to come, International Red Cross, they can say, look, This is not a show us, this is a work camp. This is not a murder camp. These are rumors. So we spend months picking up bodies, doing this, doing that, so that, and they checked. We did, you know, with guns poking at us. And so everything. It was like nothing was there. I remember walking into a barracks. The kids must have been there. They were all sent to Treblinka to be death. And I fixed a pillow and put blanket straight. It looked like a camp. Summer camp. There was nothing there. Okay, after we did it for months. After we did that, I remember my father again is out. Before that, they had a lot of people. The train was waiting for Treblinka. They began shooting. So we all were outside. Again, I saw everything. They began shooting, and I was on my mom's lap, and she was holding me. And I noticed the people, so when the shooting was finished, and my father said to my mother, we can go back to our barrack now. They had enough. He said something like, they spilled enough blood. It was in Yiddish. So, you know, after it was all clean, my mother said, I'm going to do this. He finished our job, clean us up, but he didn't. He took us to the next place, which was Starkovitsa, about 60 minutes away, by truck. Their life was different. I'm going to go a little faster because then you push this later on. My parents went to work. This was pure working for the Third Reich, for the factories. Pure 6 in the morning or 5 in the morning. There was wind. I didn't see them until at night, and we were just roaming the streets. There weren't many people. My grandmother told me. You see, this is where I remember. She said, "Well, listen, you would be alone. You'll be. I don't know when I'll come back." And I hope she'd come back because some of the people did not come back because they inhaled something in the factory and they died. And they died on the spot in the factory. So she said, "I'm sure we'll come back, but listen, no eye contact with any will stop it. No eye contact. If you see German, I'm on the street on my own, right? And I'm 5.5. And if they come towards you, you immediately go by, you put your hand to the back, your eyes are looking down. You are not looking at them. And if you're wearing something, take off your respect. And in order to make sure that I don't forget, we practice every morning before we go to work. So I knew, you know, I learned it. I learned that and I knew the consequences. Because one woman, for whatever reason, had face-to-face with the Gestapo, and they had a public shooting, and my mother took me to the public shooting. I've seen death and death everywhere, and I didn't understand the effect. I saw people die shooting. Here I saw she walked, she had eye contact, she disrespected the German soldier. She was going to be shot. And she took me, and I remember the woman with something on her face, covered up like a black thing wearing, and her hands were tied, and I was very close to her shot. And then my mother said to me, "You will obey the rules." And I said, "I will." That was my lesson. And then all of a sudden, my father, he says to my mother, he said, "Hide her." That was the children's selection. You know, I told you the different selections. I go away in years, when I went to a Chinese restaurant, and they said, select from A, select from B. You know, I don't know if you still have it, because I don't eat Chinese anymore. You know, from this column to this column, except for the launch or something. So, you know, the word is a special meaning. I was interviewed by a German And they said to me, would you ever live in Germany? And I said, only if you change your language, because your language is a certain feeling, you know? The word halt means stop in German, which is the stop sign. To me, it's dead. Because that's when you got halt, stop. So then I said, since you never lose that. People said, did I get over it? Of course. I'll live a good life. Okay. I'm focused. There's only for the video. So I saw the selection, and so my parents took me, and they hid me. It was a false face. And they hid me there. From the window, little thing that I saw all the friends I played with. I didn't know adults, but I knew children. They were all grateful, and I knew what would happen to them. From then on, I couldn't be on the street anymore. So again, my mother taught me. She said, you're going to be in this room. I'm going to lock the door. Don't go near the window. She put something by the window. It was like a blanket. It was something. Then you see you say, well, don't get near the window. She said, don't peek out to see what's going on. I'll be here every day. I will bring food to you. And that's what happened. That's the period that I can't remember well. I didn't speak to anybody. I had nothing to do. You're like in a dark room by yourself. I knew my parents would come back. I hoped they would come back and I'll get food. My memory was, you know, I don't know where it was. I just can't tell you. And then all of a sudden, she opened the door one time and she said, you're out. You're free. You can go everything with me. I was overjoyed. I ran outside, you know, it was a beautiful day, and it was, oh my goodness, I the sky, the wind, and it was happy. See, it was happy. Because we go to Auschwitz. Now, I heard about Auschwitz, Majdanek, Auschwitz, Birkenau, Dachau. These were names like stereo names. I heard it all my life. But I didn't think there were anybody who goes to Auschwitz. I said, at least I'm not going to be inside anymore. I can't go to Auschwitz. And nobody comes back from there. So we started walking towards the Auschwitz. I don't know how much time they gave us. That little suitcase, and my parents were separated. My father was in a different wagon. It was the same train, but a different, like a different enclosure. So he was with a man, and I got on it. And I remember my father was crying. My mother was crying. My mother was holding me. And you know what I worried? And the door was there. I saw German shepherds. So I wanted. Said they were to kill me. My mother was holding me. This day, by the way, I can't fucking German shepherds. I know they're very nice dogs. They're very nice. He's on my block. I walk away when they ask. So we got also the camera car. It was in the beginning we could sit, but afterwards we couldn't. And then a journey of 36 hours. I looked it up. I had no idea what time. And it was like midnight. There was the terrible smell. It was like he said, "Mom, go to the bathroom." She could hardly hear me. I said, "Okay, go." And I know going and everybody else. So you could smell, no food, dark. It was very dark. Little window on the side, top, and by the seal, little window to the right. And what can I say to you? When I was tired, I put my head on the woman in front of me. I was asleep, and it was everybody. We arrived, and it was horrific light and noise between the doors. Oh my God, I said, again, the doors are here. And I said to my mom, they're going to kill me. She said, no, they won't. They are only trained to kill if you run. You will stand still. I'll stand still. I obeyed rules, my mother's rules, 100%. And then she did something strange. You know, I think it shaped my character a little bit, that little thing that she did. She said to me, I'm going to see your father. And the other end of the tree. I'm going to give you a suitcase, our suitcase. Don't let anybody touch it. And I remember saying, oh, she trusts me. I'm now in charge of a suitcase. And I'm standing here holding it so tightly in my head. I said, there, whoever, now here are dogs, the SS, the German soldiers, the stuff looking all over. I'm holding onto the suitcase. 5 minutes later, they took away the suitcase. But the idea that I had the responsibility, she took care of me. Now I can take care of her. So she comes back and she tells me a story that my father was tattooed. He's going to Dachau, Germany. We are staying here. Give information. Then she told me, get undressed. I didn't hear orders, or I didn't understand orders. Get undressed. We all got undressed. Now remember, see. By the way, it was very nice outside. It was in July, August, it was summertime. So I said, how are you getting undressed? He said, they want to check. First, if our bodies are perfect. If they're not perfect, he said, you see, and there was smoke. It was like when you arrived out, the crematorium wasn't far away because they would need to go immediately. You arrived this way, the entrance was this way. There was gigantic gates into Auschwitz proper, but most of the people didn't, especially children and elderly, straight on the platform, this direction. So, and I said, no, he said, that's the body burden. And we went, by the way, and I said, I remember turning around and I said, how am I? I was naked. She said, you look good. You're okay. So what about you? She said, I'm fine too. And I want you all my sister herself. And now, question is, 99.9 of the kids were immediately killed. Immediately. We never even entered. You had to be 15. Or look like you're 15. You had to be tall and a worker. So kids, people were telling me, see all this, stay on your toes, you know. I don't know what happened. The person who wrote the book with me is not Jewish. He is an English reporter for PBS, I believe. He tried to do research. He said he couldn't find anything. Why? But here is a possibility. Somebody wrote a book at Rutgers. I live right next door to Rutgers. About that, and he said that we arrived on a Sunday. On a Sunday, we had 4 crematoriums going. We didn't want to open up another one. They were Christians. And it was their day of rest. I mean, you know, okay, whatever Christians they were, that's one possibility. That's what I heard. Somebody else said that the day before, they worked very hard. They killed the gypsies, 400,000 were burned and human jobs. They didn't have enough in the crematorium, couldn't burn the bodies fast enough. They had to make pits outside and put the bodies out. So, you know, if that particular transport, they just couldn't do it. They said, okay, you go into Auschwitz, they probably get us later. So that's the theory. Why? No why. Maybe so I don't know why. I have no idea why. And then when we the next thing they did, they did these. I remember that very well. I took away the clothes. Okay, we arrived at Auschwitz. My mother had a middle bunk. Okay, yeah, I guess it's a middle one. And now she's talking to me again. She never stopped teaching. She never stopped. She did brutal. You get, oh, by the way, I read a book the other day. which gave me the Polish name that I had forgotten. Just relearned it yesterday. It's called Menachka. Menachka was the bowl that you have. So, oh, I know that word. I've forgotten it for all these years. Yesterday I read about it. You look in a bowl, in a spoon, in a cup. Here, you lose it, you won't get it. People steal it so they can go through it. The person who made the food doesn't know, just sees a bowl, puts it in. You gotta be very careful. So she told me how to hide it. And then she said, Papa, go to the bathroom. You can't go whenever you want. What do you mean? She said, you can't. You have to go with all of us. Well, what happens if I can't hold it in? She said, you'll learn. Do what I did. We went twice a day, in the morning and at night. And with the adults, I was with the adults. And they had these, I don't know if you ever been to Auschwitz. If you ever go, they had these boards, as long as from this, like that, and gigantic bowls. And anybody, of course, could fall in. Well, I fell in. But I learned. And I learned to hold her in. I learned how to ask her to go to the bathroom. I began to learn a lot of things, which took me years to unlearn. I was hungry, starving. I never talked about it. In America, I remember that. In Brooklyn, in 1952, 53, when we were eating at the table, and I wanted a second portion of the mess. I was so ingrained that I said to myself, I didn't tell anything. I said, can I ask for another piece of chicken? I'm not sure. I better not ask. I remember that. It was part of my, my brain matter. So I began to, all kinds of things happened during it. I was the only child there. The uphill, the constant counting. Morning, a constant. And one time I couldn't stand still anymore. And some woman that says, everybody said there were no women. I swore there was a woman and I found a woman on the internet. This is research. There were all women. I remember she was wearing a skirt. She took me out of the thing, out of the line, and she started hitting me, stand still. And these were my thoughts, which I can't imagine. I said, go ahead, kill me. You can just, when she was hitting me, well, my head was up like that. Tell me, you will never know how much you hurt me. I won't let you know how much you hurt me. There was an inner resistance. And many people, by the way, I'm not the only one. I'm not a heroine. I'm a 5-10-year-old child. Many people would not cry out in order, first you can be killed if you cry. A second, don't let them know how much you get hurt. Don't let them know how much power they have over you. So they shoved me back into line. But then I got very sick. I got diphtheria and scarlet fever. That's a miracle. Nowadays, you can die if you don't have penicillin. I don't know how many weeks I was ill, but illness meant death. I used it. So for a long time, I tried to not to tell anybody, but my eyes got full pussy in my mouth. I couldn't move my mouth, it was pus. So I started walking like this. I was only afraid to be discovered, but of course I was. And they were called in, they said, she's ill, she's sick. They took me away, and how? No medication, no doctors. I don't remember the period. It was very high fever. I was inside a hospital without doctor. When they took me out, they didn't take me back to my mother. And I wanted to go back. I said, I want to go to my mother. No, they took me to what's called kindergarten. They had a place where they just killed more gypsies. Gypsies were just destroyed as families. See, gypsies were not separated, men, women, and children. They lived together. And they thought they were going to make it because they lived as a family. The whole family is taken together. The whole family. And nothing is room for us. So that's where I met 3 people from the ghetto that I remember. 2 of them disappeared. Something happened. One stayed with me. And I'll just give you a quick thing about that part. It had 2 this. I remember we were told to go online. To me, a line meant food. So I fought to be first. Food is food. I'm really first. So I had this girl thought she won because she was a year older. And we were still annoyed at her, angry at her. So for years I knew her number because she was making fun of me. So the woman said, okay, I'm going to give you a very small number. Neat, she said, a neat number, because if you ever survive, you will get yourself a long sleeve shirt and nobody's going to know. And I said, oh, I'll survive. But look, she instilled in you that it's a shameful thing. Okay, so she, and this is what she said. Her hands were shaking, by the way. Remember, I told you that the Jews did a lot of dirty work. Like those that come out there, you must have read about them. Those are the people who went in and got all the dead people and put them into fire pits, burn the bodies. But she said, this thing, I'm going to make it. Now listen, what's your name? He told her name. No, she said, I'm going to give you a number. 27,636. You know what she was saying? Never been to school. They didn't know what 27 is. They didn't know numbers. And she said, look, just memorize it. Don't use your name anymore. If you don't answer here, when they call you, you'll die. I know that. I got it right away. My mother has been teaching it to me for years now. I was 6, by the way. I knew that. So I began to practice. And she gave me a rag, put it in water, and she said, don't wrong, it'll swell. Press it, very important. Press it. And I did. She said, it won't hurt you so much. And I said, I didn't know this woman. I know she was Jewish. And when she finished, I told all the children, they were all alive. He finished the job. But all the years, I thank her for making this experience not so scary for me. I spoke to another person, the one who stood in front of me. She lived in Canada. He died since then. And I said, tell me about your experience. Hey, wasn't this woman nice? So this person, in her own small way, tried to help the kids. Tried to help us a little bit so we're not so scared. Okay. How did I know I'm just going to give you 1 or 2 things, and then you have questions that I have no idea what about this. Because my iPhone is gone something. Without an iPhone, we don't know anything. So it's something. Okay. I got a package. Now, that's unusual package. There was a little bag with blue, I remember. Inside was something special. And somebody wrote, happy birthday. Calling me by my real name, which I would use. Happy birthday. Since birthday, 6th birthday. I didn't read it. The person who was up in short read it to me. And the bread, oh my God, it was like a gift. And I had this thing in my childhood. I'm going to be dying. I knew all about starvation. I saw people starving all the time and dying from starvation. I pictured it like this. I'm going to be just a minute after, just about to die from starvation. I put this piece of bread and make me like that saved. There was not a childish, endurance. I had endurance that I was going to eat it. But I didn't know that bread gets saved, that bread gets old. So I put it in something for you, so nobody should steal it from me. In the middle of the night, rats inside. It's feel good. You know a miracle? They didn't. They put it could have had a scar or something. It could have bitten me. I could have had a disease. There were rats from Auschwitz, from the sword. Nothing. Let's go. I'm going to give you one more incident. Things happened there, but all of a sudden they call us and they say, "You're getting a delicious breakfast." I know what it was. Before you went to the gas chamber, you had the best breakfast in the world. Bread, hot, sweet, and it looks like coffee, like light coffee. And I didn't care about it. I know we go to the gas chamber. I couldn't care less. It could be a walk in the park. So we ate, we got dressed, it was very cold outside. I started walking back. And I heard my name. It's my name. Who knows my name? And mother, we passed a women's place there. And she said to me, it must have been in Yiddish because I didn't speak anything else. She said, where are you going? I said to the crematorium, like it was everybody goes. And women started screaming and crying because they all had children. And children, we were about 50 kids walking. And I said to the girl next to me, why are you crying? Every child is to go to Auschwitz. Every child, every Jewish child. We got there and we waited and waited. I don't know what happened. They sent us back. I cannot tell you. I don't know. I don't know the date. The reporter who did it tried to figure it out. Again, theories. I have no idea. Within a very short time, I'm out of it. That's the end of the war. It is ending because there is chaos. She appears and I don't recognize her. I don't know who this woman is. And I'm looking at her and she said, it's me. She mentions my name. I said, my mother? She said, yes. And she said, they are taking us all to Germany. We're going to do, I don't know, Germany. She said, we're going to walk and look at the snow outside. It is freezing. She said, look at me. She said, you know, you can survive. I won't. She was looking, she was swollen. She was disfigured. I didn't even recognize her. And she said, I don't want you to stay alive by yourself in this world. I remember she bent down to me and she took me by the shoulder. She said, listen, you don't want you to live by yourself. You don't want you to survive. You can't survive by yourself in the world like this. Will you die with me here in Auschwitz? She said, yes. We somehow got out. It's another story of it. She found a hospital with women. Women were always reinitiating men. And she went around looking for a corpse. I know what she was doing. She found a corpse of a woman who just passed. Just war. She was get in. I got in, and she maneuvered my body in such a way, such a special way that I could breathe only into the ground. You know, not up. She didn't want the blanket. And she said, nobody will let cover you. And I heard all kinds of stuff. And the Germans came and they came over to the bed and I stopped breathing. I knew, you know, how I could have kept my breath. Then I was smoked. My mother said, don't get it covered. Don't ever get it covered no matter what you hear. And the smoke is coming and all of a sudden she comes and she says, God. And we get ourselves out of bed, get on our shoes, and find some shoes somewhere, and we start walking outside. Everything was burning because they set the camp on fire. They didn't want any witnesses. Everything was on fire. And people who were hidden everywhere. Thousands of people, children, all walking. And then was the Russians didn't come yet. They came 2 days later. We were still with the electric wire. We came 2 days later. But at that time, we 2 days without any Germans, because they all went away. We're the people that they forced which 95% of the people died on the road. And that's how I survived. And many didn't. It was just pure luck. My Derek and the other children did go to the crematorium and they didn't come back. I don't know what happened to us. Our whole group survived. I think there was something like 150, I don't know how many children survived. About 60, 70 children under the age of 8, and I was 69. So now, I'm sorry it's maybe long. You probably have most of the time. People sometimes listen. If you've got any questions that I can answer, I'll be happy to. But thank you for listening. But yeah, yes, please.
So you and your mother were saved?
Yeah.
Not too close to. Yeah.
Yeah.
You and your mother did.
My mother and I were saved now from Auschwitz. My father was saved in Dachau. We didn't know that. We the only family that know. We had no siblings. In other words, I was the only child. If you had more than one child, you couldn't possibly do that. So the three of us, and she lost everybody, and he lost almost everybody. 3 sisters came back, and one of them was killed by the Polish and Estonian youth, young people were Jews. They were, I think they were called 8,000 days, some kind of a Polish words. So anti-Semitism. And coming back to Poland, there was nothing there. They asked us, "Did you come back?" Because we took the war. That's our law. So this is, remember that. This is not only my story. This is not my story. This is the story of every battle that had children. We were all, just luck, miracle luck. Maybe so I should tell the story. You know. And thank you for listening. And include my father? Yeah, the road pushing. We would get our whole town. Because, you know, I think we had an understanding, if you survive, go back to the place you throw your last. So everybody went back to the whole town. A year and a half after the war, because Dachau was liberated by the Americans, and 18 years later. And Auschwitz was not the birthplace. They were the first, the army. So yes, my father came, and we were reunited.
Do you have any idea how your mother knew what she knew and how to teach that to you? Did you ever talk about it after the war? Like, how did she learn and know to do the things that she did?
Instinct, I don't know. I'll tell you what she did know, because she spoke to me later on too. She knew instinctively that we won't be together all the time. She heard people were separated. One way to break a people is to break the family. You know, she was separated from her brothers, from her sisters, from these separation. She was afraid of being separated. Not to behave. And that was her style. I don't know, even after the war. She would talk to me in Brooklyn, when we lived in Brooklyn. How we didn't listen. And I was a teenager. I wanted to forget. She wanted to remember. So I would sit in the kitchen table in Brooklyn, do my homework, listen to the radio, all kinds of radio theater. You know, like the Green Hornet or stuff like that people used to listen to at our age. And she will talk. Enough. And I'm sorry. She wanted to express everything she saw and heard. And in Auschwitz, I listened. taught me a lot of things. What to do, what not to do, how to walk, where to be quiet, never to cry, never to complain, never to be seen. He taught me to be invisible.
So when you were with Sarah, like in that picture, that's the
That little Sarah.
right. So that's when the Russians came liberated. Like you said, a week later. I'm sorry, a week later they came and took that photo. But prior to that, where were all of you? Were you in a barrack with only kids? Like who took care of you guys?
Before the Russians came, who took care of you?
Oh, okay. Before the, I don't know. See, this is why the grandmother, the wasn't the mother, but your relative. She doesn't know what happened to them. She's go wandering around. They were like, the most important thing was food. So they broke down in German, you know, they had all these food bins or whatever for this economy. Great food in Germany. So people broke them down and you know, the bitch was wandering. And was her father there? She told me a story. She was a little incoherent because I met her only a year before she died. So she may not have been, but she said she was wandering around and her father found her. But men were in a different camp. So he had to probably come to that camp and look for her. He must have known that he had a wife died, right? A mother died. Yeah, so he must have looked for a child. I think he found her.
But my point is, where were I explain like where were they? Like why were they
In her book, she described that period.
For Sarah?
Yeah, you described when the Russians, before the Russians, how people were just all over.
Yeah.
No. I mean, but they were kids.
You stand by the book. I don't know. She don't remember wandering that. They was, you know, the Yiddish word healthcare. Healthcare means this organization, the kids work. And then kids were wandering around. They got lost. They didn't know. They were looking. Nobody, the people who took care of them before were like the company. They were like looking for the Germans. So I was just wandering around. I don't know anything about the children. I know my mother found. It's what you want.
Who was with her mother?
I was with my mother. I wasn't with the children.
Right.
There was no
She found
children.
her again. Mother left. She left. Her mother was the corpse. Realized that the march was happening, and so took her and hid her and came and got her, and they were together at the end.
right? She didn't know first. Yeah.
The children who were alone were in terrible trouble until the Red Cross came or something, and they were.
That's what Sarah used to talk about, was the Red Cross.
Yeah. Sarah talked about the Red Cross.
Yeah, they must have done something to those children later on. Later on, see, that problems there. The Christian people wanted to take some of those children and adopt them and make them Christian. There was a battle. And I don't know what Red Cross, I hate the Red Cross, by the way. I don't know what, how they did nothing good for them. They helped kill us, by the way, in other ways. I don't know how soon somebody came to Auschwitz and gathered the children, because the plan was children without parents were taken to a displaced people's camp or to Jewish orphanages. And then they were shipped to Israel. Because the parents weren't found. I wanted to tell you, the battle for children continued in many ways. It wasn't necessarily good for the children. What to do with a child who doesn't know their names even. Some kids didn't know their names. They didn't know how old they were. So unless they were found, they were taken into Jewish orphanages, then into a DP camp. for them to get a little bit of education and food, and then is what you will see. You will see.
Thank you.
I want to see that. No, no. Oh, yeah, well. See, the problem is that you can't lie about your life because everybody else knows it. Has reminded me, my mother worked in a potato, something in Auschwitz, I don't know what it was, and she stole a potato. In order to barter it for a piece of bread, I couldn't eat a potato, but I could eat a piece of bread. And she was it. Somebody found that she stole that potato or something in her head. And I think she died from that years later, something with her head. But the present was the piece of bread.
I've gotten to the very end of your book and just, I think I have maybe 2 chapters left, but I got to where you asked and you met your husband and Sunday at Hebrew school essentially, and when you were 11 years old.
Yeah.
Had he gone through the Holocaust?
Did what?
Did your husband, who you met in America, did he go through the Holocaust?
No, we had parents didn't. Even the grandparents didn't.
They were in a
They came of as the World War I, I think. Something like that. Yeah, but he spoke Yiddish at home. Because everybody was there, so we could speak Yiddish if you want.
Thank you so much. I would like the Borrowlayers class and their moms. Well, first the classmates, the girls in the class, please come up here. So the Borrowlayers class this year, our public girls are doing their curriculum is on Jewish, and they're going to be doing, this is their lesson. They're here at class to learn about.
Are they going up somewhere? Oh, nice. What did you learn about Jewish women? If give me 1 or 2 words, so don't make a sentence. What do you think, not only from me, but Jewish women? Give me an adjective. Your adjective is describe it. Describe it. What the one, how about the one word of this?
very thoughtful.
Very what? Thoughtful? Okay. What else? Good. That's my favorite word. Strong. Hardworking? Yes. Yes. It's good. Yes.
Brave.
Brave. Good. Fearless. That's good. Just try the mom or whatever. I'm going to say about this. What? Oh. This is my word. Oh, yes. We are smart. We are tough. We are strong. We are thoughtful. We are fearless. Right? And a lot to live up to. Courageous. Yes, it's good. It's great. Courageous. Right. Don't forget that. Don't let your husband put around to it.
You're gonna be in their scrapbook, and I'm gonna send you pictures of their scrapbook.
That's great.
Okay, well, thank you to all the moms of these girls for bringing them here. These and all of the children in this group are the most important people in this room. They are the witnesses of our next generation. We thank you for sharing your story with them and with us.
I just want to talk to their brother kids. You adults don't have to listen. I want you to remember it, because you see, my story is not your story. I'm 84, 85. I have a pact with God, 10 more years. I think 10 years, I think I'll unpack. I haven't unpacked yet. So I will, okay, but then you have to take over. Yes, you have to remember the story, and you have to tell it to others. If somebody, you want to see my number, by the way? Somebody's asked for you. Look at your own attitude. Stop gross with it. You know, sometimes you'll go to your high school, are you? What grade are you? So sometimes you're 8, and then you go to high school, then you go to college. You're gonna, I guarantee you, you're gonna meet people who say that. Okay? That's what I'm saying. Sorry?
Would you show them the number? You show all
Yeah, I will. Oh, by the way, Sarah took off her number. And remember, yeah, we talked about it. And I said, why did you do it? She said, I didn't want to think about it. But then she was sorry. Yeah, we talked about that.
The other kids would make fun of me. She took it off.
See what a nice number? Very neat. 27,633. I don't even know my social security number. I know it. Okay? So don't let anybody tell you it didn't happen, unless they will say that I took my own number off. Thank you all very much for listening. Thank you.